Can we trust the mainstream media? I'm Brian Lilley with TheRebel.media. You know my view on the mainstream media. I don't hold most of them in high esteem. I complain about a pack mentality and believe that there's a media party that pushes its own agenda. Well, this past federal election was no exception, unfortunately. Whether it was the lack of any serious vetting of Justin Trudeau and the Liberal plan, or the lecturing, hectoring tone expressed towards the Conservatives and Stephen Harper, we really all knew where the media party stood. Don't believe me that the media acts in unison or close to it? Well, look at the stories, columns, and commentary on one of the hot-button issues of the election, the niqab and citizenship ceremonies. In English Canada, this issue was treated as toxic sludge, not to be touched unless it was to lecture the entire populace on why the Conservatives were wrong and anyone opposed to the niqab was some kind of bigot or worse. It didn't matter that opposition to the niqab at citizenship ceremonies was high, above 70% in several polls. The media reaction was entirely the opposite. They had their agenda, they were going to push it. Occasionally there would be acknowledgement that, well, this was an issue in Quebec, but it was as if they all pretended that English Canada was in love with people wearing the niqab. When Trudeau won the jubilation among many in the media was hard to hide, and some didn't even try. Did you happen to see Craig Oliver's rant on election night on CTV?
Has to compare him with Mr. Harper. Integrity, trust, openness, tolerance, truthfulness. I have to say that Mr. Harper promised all of these words himself and basically lived up to none of them. I know that many of you may feel that this is the night we should say nice things about Mr. Harper. But he was caught lying. He was caught cheating. He showed, toward the end, incredible intolerance to Canadians who are Arabs and Muslims.
Oliver could hardly control his glee that the son of his old canoeing buddy, Pierre, was moving back to 24 Sussex Drive. Oliver has long been a Liberal partisan. In fact, the story around Ottawa has always been that he was moved from covering Parliament Hill to Washington back in 1981 because he'd become far too close to Pierre Trudeau, the man he was supposed to be covering, and it was a little embarrassing to CTV brass. We do know that Oliver and Pierre Trudeau were tight, that he's known Justin Trudeau since he was a boy, and it was obvious that, well, he's a cheerleader for the Trudeau clan. Unfortunately, he's not alone. There is, to use a favorite word of progressives, a systemic left-wing bias in the media. Now, those that dispute the idea of a left-wing bias, they keep pointing to newspaper editorials endorsing the Conservatives as, well, proof that there's no bias at all. Let me just say that a single editorial at the end of an election campaign does not compare to the daily drip, drip, drip of pro-leftist, anti-conservative news pushed out across all platforms. We here at The Rebel believe there's a real media bias in Canada, and we think most Canadians realize this. We want your help to test a few questions in a poll. We've done this a few times now. You've been very generous with your support for our polling. Now, we already know that Canadians put little faith in the media. An Ecos poll done in 2013 showed only about 1/3 of Canadians had a high level of trust for the media. And an Angus Reid poll done earlier this year showed the same. But those polls don't get to the heart of the question. Is there a media bias in Canada? I mean, did you know that CBC's union, the Canadian Media Guild, the one representing their reporters, was registered as a third party and was actively campaigning in the election? They wanted people to vote for more money for CBC. And guess what Trudeau was promising? $150 million a year in extra funding. Then there's Unifor, Canada's largest private sector union, representing more than 10,000 media employees across Canada, many of them journalists that write, report, present the news. In major newspapers at CTV, well, they were a registered third party, and they were at the forefront of the Anybody But Conservative campaign. They spent a lot of money to get this result, including paying or helping to pay for those Engage Canada ads. But most Canadians don't know this. So here's what we want to ask, and again, we'll need your help to expose this. We want to commission a poll, a proper poll as always, that asks, 1, was there a news media bias during the election, in particular TV news? 2, did you know that the Canadian Media Guild, the union representing CBC, and Unifor, the union representing CTV, and thousands of print reporters, was actively campaigning against the Conservatives? And does this show bias? It'll cost a few $1,000s to get these questions into a proper poll and to test our theory. We're asking if you can help. A donation of $10, $25 or more. We know that not everyone can help with every appeal, but we do we do know that every little bit helps us keep our mission going here at The Rebel. We don't get the $1 billion a year from taxpayers, and we don't seek out subsidies. We exist because of you. If you can help financially, we appreciate that and we encourage it. If not, we understand, and perhaps you can help us out by sharing this video and other material of ours by emailing it to your friends and family, posting it on social media. We are committed to bringing you the stories that the other guys dare not touch, and with your help, we're going to keep doing just that.